Hello everyone, welcome to the World Non-Summit Conference. Our conference will focus on a post-corona recovery strategy. My name is Kim Yoo-eun. I am a Gangnam University student. I am your host for this event. Today, we will be hearing from 6 presenters. Each presenter will represent one of 6 countries. The countries are United States, England, China, Sweden, Italy, and Korea. Each presenter will introduce themselves. Presenters, please introduce yourself.
Nice to meet you. I'm Haley from Orlando, Florida, USA. I'm 21-year-old college student and currently a sophomore at Columbia University. I usually like to learn about other countries' culture, so I'm participating in many international activities. I participate this activity, which is known as World Non-Summit, because I thought it would be a good opportunity to hear direct from locals about the difficult situation of COVID-19 in other countries besides the United States.
This is Chloe from England, studying at Cambridge University. First, I'm so glad to be invited here at the World Non Summit. I hope we can share information that we don't know and have a unique experience. So today, I'll provide you qualitative information, not a quantity. I strongly suggest that you listen and compare to your country's culture. Through that, we could think what cultural differences exist between countries.
Nice to meet you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zhang Wei. I am from Lin University. My major is social work. I came here as a representative of China. I'm glad to be part of this meeting.
Hello, my name is Eva, and I'm from Sweden. I'm a graduate student studying statistics at Uppsala University, which is located in Uppsala, Sweden.
Hello, my name is Julia from Bologna, Italy. I am a junior at university and majoring in business administration. I would like to first talk about how Italy dealt with COVID-19 from the beginning of this year.
Hello, my name is Hanbok Kim, and I would like to speak as a let Open Korea today. I major in social work at Gangnam University. I'm glad that this last summer was held in Korean, but I think it will be an appropriate meeting for because you chose me as the representative this effort to get. I think it will be a time to learn how other countries are preparing for the corona year. I will also present the corona status government's response on the policy changes in Korea. Also, I will talk about the changes in prevention of daily life, focusing in the main content. Lastly, I will extend how cultural experience on the cultural exchanges are being activated at home and abroad, and I'd like to suggest some ways to enjoy together. Thank you.
Thank you. 3 main topic areas will be covered by each presenter. First, the current corona pandemic situation and the government's strategy for combating the pandemic. Second, how daily life has changed as a consequence of the pandemic. Third, suggestions of ways to enjoy cultural activities despite being restricted by the pandemic. We will begin the presentations with our first main topic area, current situation and government strategies. The presentations will be given in the following order: the United States, England, China, Sweden, Italy, and Korea. To begin, our first presenter, representing the United States.
The United States currently has the largest number of deaths due to COVID-19 in the world. So far, there are more than 1 million of new cases reported every month, and tens of thousands of people a day are infected with COVID-19, which seems to be apparently serious enough to grab world's attention. I will explain the situation of the USA in the first half of the year and then the state of events in the second half of the year in more specific. When COVID-19 outbreak occurred, the government quarantined all the foreigners who have visited the Chinese continent within 2 weeks after bringing home the remaining people in Wuhan. Even so, as the number of corona increased, the government officially declared a state of emergency and upgraded its travel alert to level 4, banning travel to all regions. In April, all public schools in New York City were closed until August, and all of 50 states in USA in the history of the epidemic declared disaster zones and issued home standby orders. In July, 3,600 USA companies filed for bankruptcy due to COVID-19, and the government paid about $100 billion in employment benefits for the unemployed. However, the daily average number of confirmed patients began to decline with the rate of complete recovery exceeding 50% since August. In particular, reissuing the FDA-approved diagnostic equipment that can test COVID-19 at home, reducing the financial burden on the people. Also, the government carried out a 3-step economic stimulus package in the people to overcome the difficulties caused by the COVID-19. So far, the total number of deaths in the USA is about 208,000, and the corona population is about 30 million, which is serious danger. So what problem is in the United States have put many people at risk? It can be thought into 2 causes as follows. First, the US government missed the golden time to protect the people from the COVID-19. The government has not taken the COVID-19 serious enough, but took it lightly as a local infectious disease at flu levels, not as a global pandemic, and has only to manage China entry and exit. Also, the president lacked a proper awareness of seriousness of the COVID-19 and national authority over thin quarantine and mandatory use of masks made a failure in the early stage and brought USA into several situations. Second, low healthcare service for the people is another reason for this difficult situation. In the United States, the health insurance system is not well established, so you have to pay high medical bills if you visit the hospital. COVID-19 testing is not covered by insurance, so it requires a high financial capacity, so low-income families sometimes die without the COVID-19 test because they cannot be afforded to pay for the test. Unlike in Korea, due to the large population, epidemiological surveys cannot be confirmed precisely to find out who contact the confirmed patients.
Thank you for your informative presentation. It would seem the US government squandered a crucial gold time period to protect its citizens. As a result, it led to a burdening of the healthcare system. Next, representing England.
As you know, we are living in generation of pandemic, which means we are in danger of coronavirus, and this made our living literally upside down. Aren't you curious how exactly that changed our lives? But before I answer this question, I'll let you know how England is going in this pandemic and what UK government has done with coronavirus. Currently in England, there are about 1.4 million infected people accumulating and average 20,000 people infected in coronavirus a day. What most shocked me was, in 12 November, there were more than 30,000 infected people in UK. This means that in order to prevent an increase in the number of additional infects, the government must take strong measures against the virus. So what the government did was to make relevant regulations for a new blockade. First rule they made was closing pubs, restaurants, and only permit takeaway. And second, close non-essential shops, leisure and entertainment venues. Third, no household mixing indoors or private gardens unless in your support bubble. However, despite these rules, the toll from coronavirus is still on the rise. This is ultimately a matter. And this time, I'll tell you a specific case that made this pandemic even worse. The very first case confirmed in United Kingdom was in 31 January. On that day, the British were evacuated from Wuhan to quarantine at Arrowy Park Hospital. Therefore, UK is set to make fast decision. And soon the wave would emerge. Also in late March, Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of United Kingdom, had been infected too. In 24 March, more than 1,000 British infected rapidly. Compared with the day before, there were increase of 1.5 times more British who were infected. Therefore, the government issued lockdown starting from 24 March. Then as infected British decreased, by July, they lifted lockdown. However, this was not the end. In 23 September, UK reported highest ever number of new daily cases since 25 April. It was also reported that 40 more people died within 28 days of the COVID-19 positive test. Thus, to stop the increase in the number of COVID-19 infections, regulations were tightened for containment in northeastern England, which allowed the government to impose fine of up to £6,400. However, 18 October, Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of England, was revealed that he has broken quarantine rules with US visit to White House. As it turned out true, Mr. John's former Conservative minister added, "It sets an appalling example to travelers if a former Prime Minister appears to flout the rules in such a flagrant manner." And now, UK is still on the rise and only waiting for end of virus.
Thank you for your presentation. To summarize, England attempted the implementation of numerous quarantine strategies. For example, closing indoor meals in restaurants and permitting only takeout orders. Despite these quarantine strategies, the number of infections increased. Next, representing China.
The COVID-19 broke out in Wuhan, that is a city in China. It is known to have been transmitted from bats. There is also a claim that it was leaked from the Wuhan Virus Research Institute. First of all, this epidemic was the first to occur and spread in China. Therefore, the Chinese government has implemented a strong policy. First, China government shut down Wuhan, and the China government implemented the self-isolation policy and foreigner quarantine policy. The China government prevented the transmission through the closed way. Now, the Chinese government claimed that the COVID-19 is over. The Chinese government does not include people with no symptoms as confirmed cases. Therefore, I cannot trust the China government's announcement. However, the almost all Chinese people trust the government's announcement, so many Chinese people enjoy the festival without wearing masks. As a result, COVID-19 infections are repelling in China. In other words, the coronavirus is spreading again. Currently, there are about 5 to 10 confirmed cases a day in China. So far, the cumulative number of confirmed cases about 87,000, then the death toll is about 4,600. China is developing vaccines. China is the first country in the world to enter the phase 3 clinical trial for COVID-19 vaccine. China is developing more than 170 candidate matches. Among them, 4 candidate substances entered post-3 clinical trials. The Chinese government planned to supply vaccines at a low price. However, it is shunned by other countries due to its lack of stability and credibility. The Chinese government gave each company the patent rights related to vaccines. This is seen as an attempt to increase credibility. The Chinese government has already begun vaccinating citizens. However, the Chinese government did not disclose the results.
Thank you for your presentation. It would seem during the early stages, the Chinese government failed to account for asymptomatic infections in their public pandemic announcements. As a result, people went about their daily lives unaware they were unknowingly spread the virus. Next, representing Sweden.
First of all, what I'm going to talk about is Sweden's herd immunity policy and the results of pursuing this policy. After that, I will outline the present policy of Swedish government. Most of you are aware the herd immunity policy taken by Sweden is back in the spotlight amidst the second wave of COVID-19 in Europe. So, what is herd immunity? Well, simply put, if enough of the population acquires immunity from the virus, it will indirectly protect the entire population. For example, if 70% of the population acquires immunity, it should provide enough protection. So it will decrease the likelihood of spread of the virus to the rest of the population. This immunity could be from having survived the infection or through vaccination. The Swedish government has not officially announced that it is pursuing this policy, but it is clear the Swedish government is pursuing a herd immunity policy, particularly when we examine the preventive measures implemented in Sweden. It is clear that it is with herd immunity in mind. The main focus of the Swedish policy is testing and treatment. Quarantine and shutdowns were avoided, instead relying on the personal responsibilities of their citizens to take recommended preventive measures on their own. On April 8th, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ann Linde, stated, "We don't have a strategy of herd immunity." She added, "Instead of a blockade, people rely heavily on their own responsibilities." Anders Tenger, who is a state epidemiologist of Sweden, said, "COVID-19 is not a disease that will disappear in the short term as well as in the long run. We chose a mitigation strategy." Unlike other European countries that sought quarantine and shutdowns, Sweden only advised its citizens to comply with individual quarantine rules, such as washing their hands and social distancing. So, what resulted from Sweden's policy? How does it compare with other European countries? Sweden's infection rate, peaking in late June, thereafter decreased. This prompted officials to think the herd immunity policy was working in Sweden. However, since then, things have changed. The number of cases and deaths has been rising since late September. From February to the end of August, the total number of cases was just over 70,000 in 6 months. Then, from the start of September to November 15, the total number of cases jumped to nearly 230,000 in 3 months. To date, there are just over 7,000 COVID deaths. Among the deaths, almost 90% were over the age of 70. How do these numbers compare with other countries? According to Statista, as of December 3rd, 2020, Sweden's coronavirus per capita death rate is ranked 22nd highest in the world among 150 countries. with 681 deaths per 1 million population. This is about 10 times that of Finland and neighboring Norway. The total number of cases in Sweden is near 270,000, for Finland 27,600, and Denmark 90,000. Finland shut down its schools, declaring a state of national emergency on March 16th, and also shut down multiple use facilities, such as cafes and restaurants, on April 1st. Denmark also shut down its borders on March 11th and temporarily suspended schools and restaurants. Norway announced travel restrictions after mid-March and has since temporarily suspended school operations. On the other hand, Sweden only enforced by law about a ban on travelers from countries other than the European Union and the European Economic Area, and a ban on meetings of more than 50 people, and a ban on visits to nursing homes during the same period. What do experts say about Sweden's COVID policy? Swedish frontline doctors are frustrated with nation's lack of tough measures. Doctors in Sweden call for stricter measures and enforce consequences for not following government recommendations. Most experts feel Sweden's strategy proved a dramatic failure. Has Sweden's COVID policy changed? What is the current COVID policy and strategy of Sweden? People in Sweden have a high level of trust in government agencies, so fear of COVID-19 is low. In addition, because they believe Sweden's official position that healthy people do not have to wear masks, the rate of wearing masks is low. Since wearing masks is not common and regulations are lax, some people are calling for stronger containment measures, questioning its effectiveness. There is no enforcement of mask wearing, so few wear masks. As of November 16, Sweden has implemented a ban on gatherings, limiting the number of people gathering to 8 people, and bans alcohol sales after 10 p.m. Citizens are advised to refrain from visiting multiple facilities and work from home. Despite the ban, however, Swedish people are reluctant to follow the policy of group gathering. They continue exercising at gyms and visiting multiple facilities.
Thank you for your presentation. It would seem that Sweden's herd immunity policy has failed, and there are many people who don't wear a mask. Next, representing Italy.
Beginning with the COVID-19 was not our problem because it was spread in Asian countries. In our culture, a person covering the face with a mask was considered as a criminal, so Italians didn't wear masks and caps. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we failed to control COVID-19 at an early stage. The virus was first confirmed to have spread in Italy on 31st January 2020, when 2 Chinese tourists in Rome tested positive for the virus. Italy has since declared a state of emergency and suspended all direct flights related to China for 3 months from early February to the end of April. Since then, COVID-19 has begun to spread throughout Italy. The biggest reason for the spread of COVID-19 in Italy was the failure to isolate the first local infected. Doctors did not suspect the patient with COVID-19 because the person had no record of visiting China. In the process, the patients lived usual daily life and even contacted many people and doctors. As a consequence, COVID-19 began to spread rapidly not only among older people but also among healthcare workers. As a result, Italy had the largest number of confirmed colonies and deaths due to COVID-19 in Europe. Therefore, the Italian government implemented a national blockade. First, the Italian government imposed a state blockade. Certain states in Italy have been closed since March 8th. 2 days later, the government extended the lockdown measures to the whole country. 3 weeks into the lockdown, its effect began to show. Italy reported declines in the number of new cases and of new deaths per day. The country also saw a steady decrease in the occupancy of intensive care units. COVID-19 cases started to decline in May 2020 thanks to the 2-month lockdown. Freedom of movement was re-established on May 4th and other non-essential activities reopened later in the month. Since the end of September 2020, the virus regained strength and grew its prevalence in the regions of Campania and Lazio. This corresponded to a rise in new cases experienced also in other major European countries. I think this is the result of the summer holiday in European countries. In fact, many European countries have seen an increase in the number of confirmed cases since summer vacation. Therefore, Prime Minister Conte announced a new lockdown dividing the country into 3 zones depending on the severity of the pandemic. Red zones were put under a strict lockdown similar to the one which was implemented from March to May 2020. A lesser strict lockdown was implemented in the orange zones while the rest of the country was declared yellow zones.
Thank you for your presentation. It would seem that during the early stages of the pandemic, Italy experienced one of the worst outbreaks of the pandemic, with huge numbers confirmed infections and deaths. Fortunately, the situation has improved with government interventions. Finally, representing Korea.
Corona is starting data in Korean is January 20th, 2020. Began as a Chinese woman entered Incheon International Airport from the previous day. The first corona confirmed as a Korean national is a 55-year-old man who aboard an Incheon International Airport from via Shanghai on January 24th. There is expected suddenly the number of confirmed cases increases. So the government implemented strong social declarations from March 22nd to April 19, 2020, and then we lowered the level and put social distance in place. Then as the spread of Corona-19 discreetly was changed to staying distant in life. And according to the severity of the Corona-19 epidemic and this intent of the quarantine agents, the measures will be implemented in level 1 to 3 stage. Since mid-August, the number of Corona-19 confirmed cases has soared in churches and coffee shops in the social marathons era, and raised concerns as the number of confirmed cases soared for the time following the Daegu Shincheonji Church and the Dieting Club in Seoul. In response, the Korean government implemented the second phase of social distance measures August the Seoul metropolitan area and expanded and nationwide. Since then, government has extended the second phase of social distance control in the Seoul metropolitan area, which was scheduled to end on August 30th to find 5 in its recommend that social distance be defined according to each situation. And now there are more massive hardware compound cases a day. Social is increased by 0.5 times the social distance, so authority made in the force students to wear masks to prevent the infection spread of Corona-19. This will result in a fine of up to 100 or when we conduct the mask, even though it is not an intentional situation or location. Therefore, the regulations are divided into the situation where mask fines are included in the exceptions are made.
Thank you for your presentation. To sum up this, South Korea maintains masks and pushes for measures in 1 to 3 stages in line with the spread of. Now turning to our second main topic area, how daily life has changed as a consequence of the pandemic. The presentations will be given in the following order: the United States, England, China, Sweden, Italy, and Korea. Representing the United States.
Despite the difficulties caused by COVID-19, the people are following the government guidelines and enjoying various cultural lives. The government in the United States, like Korea, set the following guidelines to prevent COVID-19. First, it is mandatory to wear a mask when going out. Second, a citizen must maintain a social distance of 6 feet. People are adapting to the changed lives by following the set rules with COVID-19. If you go to a mart, you should keep a distance from the entrance and only a designated number of people can enter. All need to wear a mask and shop within 6 feet distance. Many concerts were held annually in the USA, and the year fans and celebrities meet and communicate online. A cleanup campaign event where volunteers gather to clean up National Park in California every fall will be held online this year. Also, the main purpose of cleaning activities was changed to visit the mountain where each person enjoyed not at the designated place and practicing it himself. In the case of a church service, you always have to sit in a distance and you can also worship online.
Thank you for your presentation. Prior to the pandemic, the people gathered in one location to participate in a cleaning campaign, but during the pandemic, it was moved online. Each person cleaning their surrounding areas alone but together. Next, representing England.
As I told you in the beginning, coronavirus made our living and culture literally upside down. So many people around the world, including the British, have changed the way they enjoy cultural life. Whenever restrictions were tightened, they could no longer go out and mingle with others. That's why there were even articles saying that Britain could be a culture barren because of the virus. In addition, one paper says that it is unlikely that visits or events will resume after the outbreak of the virus in Britain, as well as historical sites and large-scale cultural events that tourists do not visit. Similar to Korea, events that accommodate many people in the UK are conducted online. For example, London Game Festival and London Fashion Week are conducted online. Not only events like those were conducted online, but also cultural programs like giving skills training were provided and carried out through online. Although these events and cultural programs were conducted online, increased capacity made most people satisfied, and they liked the way they enjoyed their cultural life. And one more similar thing to Korea during a lockdown, people choose to make them as their best friend, which means when they are alone in quarantine, they have no one to meet or hang out. And so they have fun alone by cooking or recording a short video with TikTok. I'll give an explanation about TikTok for someone who don't know what it is. TikTok is a social network for sharing user-generated videos, mostly of people lip-syncing to popular songs. And interestingly, the number of TikTok users in UK are about to reach 10 million, and turned out that the number of users rapidly increased after virus. This means the number of British use TikTok during enjoy their changed cultural life due to virus. Now this time I'll tell you one case that shows you how virus changed our life. This is about how one British couple spent their quarantine. There was a couple from England. As their quarantine got longer, they spent most time raising their garden. As a result, they got 3,000 flowers and trees planted in their garden. This case can be said to be the result of combination of the existing culture of gardening and the daily life changed by virus. What I felt while studying this topic was that we were given sufficient time to develop ourselves and open to opportunity for a new experience during this period.
Thank you for your presentation. In short, cultural programs or festivals such as games and fashion shows were held online, and the use of TikTok exploded. Next, representing China.
The China government implemented the closed way. The Chinese government shut down Wuhan, preventing its citizens from leaving the city. The China government has sealed off not only Wuhan but also other areas. Now, the government is paying more attention to overseas arrivals. All foreigners and locals entering China must submit a nucleic acid test negative certificate. The Chinese government has also banned entry to China from countries with high numbers of infected people. The cost of nucleic acid testing and negative certificate are expensive at $400. These expenses are covered entirely by the individual. Such a policy, to cover the cost of testing for corona infections, also reduces foreigners' entry into China. The Chinese government is trying to prevent the inflow of the COVID-19 from overseas and spreading into China. Also, all foreigners and locals entering China are required to self-quarantine at a designated hotel for 2 weeks, and they get at least 3 COVID tests during that period. The Chinese government has put restrictions on their food intake. The Chinese government allowed them to use only lunch boxes and services inside the hotel. If his or her family submits a family relation certificate, they can live in the same room. In addition, the Chinese government granted Chinese companies the patent rights related to vaccines. Under these procedures, the Chinese government has granted emergency applications to use the vaccine, which is now inoculating about 1 million of its citizens.
Thank you for your presentation. The Chinese government isolated high infection areas of the country, including Wuhan, and restricted movement both in country and movement into and out of China. Next, representing Sweden.
How has Sweden's COVID policies affected the citizens' lifestyle choices? How are Swedes going about their lives despite being in the midst of the pandemic? Citizens are engaged in many activities. despite the pandemic. I will introduce two in particular. First, there is Lucia, a winter festival held on December 13 every year. It is held on this day because it is the longest night of the year in Sweden. Lucia is held all over Northern Europe. During Lucia, people eat traditional bread called lassekerl and drink mulled wine called glögg on this day. Boys and girls march together, holding candles and put on candle crowns and sing. The Lucia concert is usually held at Uppsala Cathedral. However, due to the pandemic, we can watch the Lucia concert online via YouTube. Citizens can watch Lucia concert online and eat traditional bread and drink mulled wine at home. Next, special at-home package tours are being sold, which are called land cable tours. These tours follow guides in real time in various locations around the world. Also, pre-recorded tours are available with live chat. For example, package tours of Barcelona, Spain. It takes 90 minutes and requires at least 3 people participating in this tour. Webcams are not required. Participation is through real-time chatting. The tour costs $12, and participants only need a stable internet connection and continuous power supply.
Thank you for your presentation. Sweden implemented a system of telecommuting and flexible work through family-friendly management so that families can enjoy cultural life. Next, representing Italy.
Before COVID-19, Italians used to go museums or watch movies. Also, I enjoyed a famous festival called Carnival, especially the Carnival in Venice is quite famous. But as COVID-19 began to spread, museums, movie theaters, and carnivals were canceled. Across the country, Italians are adapting to a new normal. During Italy's national blockade, we could enjoy a different cultural life than before. Stuck inside their homes, they are looking after each other. Socializing is ingrained in Italian culture. Aperitifs with friends are still enjoyed, but now over an iPad and exercise is done in whatever space is available in suburban backyard and inner city courtyards. We play soccer with toilet paper against COVID-19 and play badminton without facing our neighbors in the yard.
Thank you for your presentation. Italians played sports in smaller numbers and in their homes such as their backyard or inner courtyards. And in space of large events, people created events for their families at home. Finally, representing Korea.
In our country, the situation changes frequently by keeping a distant free society, so there was a lack of current daily life. Therefore, concerts were the most frequently mentioned areas in culture compared to before and after Corona-19, followed by rise reading, drawing contests, concerts, and games. Especially in the field of music, interest in concert piano's quality was high. It is understood that the number of concerts and concert demonstrated outside the house has increased as they have been changed to not face-to-face online performance. In addition, various cultural events are held both face-to-face and not face-to-face first, and some of them are planned or implemented so that cultural life can be carried out only through online convention. For example, the Seoul Museum of History has visual materials and videos that explain history historical facts in online education program. The Seoul Metropolitan Government also organizes the Seoul Global Photojournalism Photo Tour exhibition on the theme of 2020 Seoul. This was done both online on the offline. Malawi people enjoy cultural life by staying at home for about 2 months without having to go to the site in person. Also, there is a cultural photo site that provides cultural information for the majority of people who can't enjoy cultural life due to Corona-19. And if you tie online performance exhibit in international space, you can find various platforms including sponsor, fed live, and pre-broadcasting according the entire schedule. In addition, we love the provision section to post freely long guiding online performance. Therefore, many people can fully enjoy their cultural life online without having to go to the site in person by person. It is much more legal, but the thing only is it is possible if you give meaning to the fact you can enjoy history, various you can be told that you can cultural life in different way.
Thank you for your presentation. Cultural events were held online, participating in the event without having to physically go to the venue. Finally, we will now turn to our final main topic area, suggestions for ways to enjoy cultural activities during the pandemic. The presentations will be given in the following order: the United States, England, China, Sweden, Italy, and Korea. Representing the United States.
During the post-corona era, restriction on cross-border movement caused many people to have difficulty enjoying the cultural life of travel, and the method of cultural exchanging between countries is now changing to enjoy cultural life through indirect experience using online, rather than direct experience through visit. So it would be really nice if many people can easily access and enjoy various cultural life by utilizing online, which is safe from viruses. Among them, I would like to share how to enjoy cultural life with food that people can easily access and enjoy without any burden. Whether it's local popular food, homemade food, or my favorite food, anyone can film food, making videos and share them online, such as YouTube. For example, in the United States, macaroni, lasagna, sandwich extra are popular, but this can be different from state to state. We can easily make and eat various food at home. In addition, many children are spending time with their parents at home, and if they can make food by watching videos shared by people from various cultures, it will be a good time to make good memories and learn about the food and culture of the country. And as there are more foreign markets in each region these days, it is easy to get food ingredients, and there are many restaurants selling foreign food. So if you follow safety rules and visit, this can also help to save the self-employed. In addition to food, there are also ways to introduce Korean traditional games online and make necessary supplies to enjoy Korean traditional games at home online.
Thank you for your presentation. Our presenter suggests a very interesting idea for sharing cultural heritage online. That is from the process of cooking cultural foods and lifestyles, then share it online, perhaps stimulating interest from people from other countries. Next, representing England.
So what I suggest is that participate in some cultural exchange activities between Korea and other countries. It's already been working with a variety of organizations online. It is designed to exchange ideas and experiences of each country and collaborate in the cultural and artistic sectors. And why don't you make dessert with waffle iron? Recently in UK, it is popular to make dessert by putting various things in waffle iron. Things like pastry and even egg, bacon can be added. For example, putting pastry on your waffle iron is called truffle. Like this, try and make your own recipe to make good choice for your cultural life during this period.
Thank you for your presentation. Our presenters suggest we participate in cultural exchange activities online among people from different cultures. Next, representing China.
Traveling abroad has been virtually banned, so demand for overseas travel has dropped sharply, but demand for domestic travel in China is recovering fast. Travel agencies in China are using the discount policy for domestic airline tickets. Also, the Chinese government is encouraging domestic tourism. The Chinese government is offering discounts on admission to more than 500 tourist attractions in China. Although we Chinese people cannot go on overseas trips and experience foreign cultures directly, instead, we can go on domestic trips at a low cost with the support of the government and experience domestic culture. China has a large territory, so you can experience a different culture in the country than usual. But many Chinese seem to be off guard about corona. Many Chinese people are not wearing masks. It is good to go on a domestic trip, but people must wear a mask. Wear a mask and enjoy culture safely.
Thank you for your presentation. Chinese travel agencies provide discounts on domestic travel in an attempt to stimulate participation in domestic culture experience, of course, while wearing a mask. Next, representing Sweden.
Aside from the aforementioned activities, how can people interact with each other in cultural exchanges during COVID? On contact events. On November the 9th, Swedish Film Festival was held in Seoul, Busan, Daegu, Gwangju, and Incheon, and screened 10 Swedish films, and held exhibitions and events. The events adhere to social distancing and other COVID precautions. The uncontacted guest talk event was held online with Swedish film directors who are unable to attend in person. It was co-hosted by the Swedish Embassy in Korea, Sweden's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Swedish Film Council. The Swedish Film Festival has been put on annually for the past 10 years, playing an important role in establishing Swedish film culture in Korea, introducing movies that Korean fans could not normally see. Through this festival, we can exchange cultural film with Sweden in the post-corona era. Next, Korean Dads and Swedish Dads online exhibition was conducted by the Embassy of Sweden and Korea's Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. Latte papas, fathers who parent their children, are shown in this exhibition. Who, what are latte papas, you ask? Latte papas symbolize Scandinavian-style parenting, in which fathers are seen carrying latte coffee in one hand and pushing a stroller with the other. Parenting is a very important aspect of Sweden's culture. Sweden adopted the world's first parental leave system, that is, fathers and mothers are given time off for work to care for their children. Sweden mandates 90 days of parental leave and can be extended to 490 days, and includes 390 days of guaranteed wages during the period of leave. Fathers and mothers both are eligible. Therefore, currently, about 90% of Swedish fathers are used using paternity leave. This exhibition was held to encourage Korean fathers to participate in paternity leave. While watching the Korean and Swedish Latte Papa's online exhibition, we can exchange indirect cultural exchange through cultural differences between Korea and Sweden. In conclusion, Sweden is famous for its high level of welfare. One of Swedish welfare is economic family policy, which is for work-life balance. I want to suggest holding contests about economic family policy between Korea and Sweden, just like the Latte Papa online exhibition. It will be effective in cultural exchanges by indirectly understanding each other's culture.
Thank you for your presentation. Sweden screened 10 Swedish films in Korea and held exhibitions and events. This provided an opportunity for Koreans to experience Swedish culture in Korea. Next, representing Italy.
In this regard, I thought about how we should engage in cultural exchanges in the post-corona era. First, two specific groups can hold an online event to perform a simple mission that can be done in everyday life with masks. It is possible to interact culturally using different ways of online available in current days. We can use more of our social media and YouTube with video related with such topics as food, music, including various concerts, including significant and popular places of the country and sports-related events. At this time, it doesn't matter whether it's at home or abroad. In one country, the level of lockdown of the coronavirus is different, so the same result will not come out. After that, the members of the group use online meeting to share their thoughts and opinions on the COVID-19 situation. As the situation of COVID-19 varies from the country to country, I think there will be a difference in how to enjoy culture in the post-corona era. Since the Italian lockdown began, Netflix has become popular instead of theaters, and classical Italian movies have become more popular. I think this is a common characteristic of other countries. There will be differences as well as countries have in common. Italy's initial responses was poor and the spread of the coronavirus is growing rapidly still now, but I think it will be safe for Italy as well as all countries around the world. This is because many countries struggling to seize COVID-19 significantly and are consequently developing vaccines and will soon be distributed to people. Before the corona era, internet development and usage were not as high as it is today. Currently, I have video interviews and internet activities that I only imagined when I was young. These activities are likely to continue to be maintained even after COVID-19 is over, but will be improved and developed with higher technology that could suit the needs of people unaffected. In my opinion, it is true that COVID-19 played a major role unintentionally in the development of the internet. Even after COVID-19 has ended, we can foresee that the usage of the internet will not decrease not only in Italy but worldwide. This can be useful to those who are interested in the field and will be able to interact between the countries or within the country. We can expand the reinforce our online community.
Thank you for your presentation. Our presenter suggests the creation of online community for cultural exchanges, providing opportunities for people of common interests from different countries to interact with each other. Lastly, representing Korea.
Now we live in the age of Corona-19, which is commonly referred to as the cultural life air in the corner of the room. As we all know, most cultural activities in Corona are being implemented online because of Corona-19. It's similar outside the country. For example, to talk to the Ballet Philharmonic Orchestra in Germany. We canceled was scheduled to prevent the spread of Corona-19. Instead, the digital concert would have been open to Uber. From the late 2006, as we regularly conduct Harvard-born was activity to the result performance. More than 600 performance videos are all free of charge on the official website. The Melody concert in New York, USA also launched the nightly mail service so they can enjoy a free performance every day. This can be seen on the official website of the registration process. I would like to make a suggestion that many countries share 20 cultures through SNS, such as Instagram and Facebook. Online activate the information as on the SNS is used. I think it is possible in the present area. If this is specified in its the Korean will have a high regulation on the promotion impact if it is with historical practice unit Hamburg on the K-pop has used the forecast which we met during the Jewish internet as it is constantly open for online access such as any constant action with it. I believe that this will be a useful time to experience each country's culture through the screen and to exchange culture with each other. Also, I think it would be very helpful to communicate through such as Facebook or Instagram, or to make good use of them in order to make up for the shortcomings through online video experience.
Thank you for your presentation. Our presenter suggests we share traditional Korean culture through SNS such as Instagram and Facebook, which can be viewed throughout the world. We have come to the end of the presentations. I would like to thank all our presenters. Your presentations were both interesting and informative. Now, I would like to provide an opportunity for each presenter to briefly say a word or two about their feeling in participations in this conference, starting with the United States representative, then continuing in the same order of presenters as previous.
I appreciate that such time was allowed, and also I'm very honored and happy to be able to participate in such a great time World Non Summit today. I was worried if I could speak well as a representative of the country, but as I prepared and tried, it made me grow up, which was such a beneficial time, and was able to further my skills of language and gain the great experience. While preparing for this activity, I looked up a lot of information about the United States and realized that many people were working hard for the country. I sincerely hope that COVID-19 will end as soon as possible and that the whole world will be free from the pain. Thank you.
It was a precious time for me to share many things in a short time. Also, it was so interesting to learn how different countries are enjoying cultural life while following the rules. If I get another chance like this, I'll be happy to do. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish there won't be no virus in the future, and thank you.
It was good to know the situation of various countries through this meeting. It is pity that anxiety and legal have occurred all over the world. I hope the day comes when I don't have to wear a mask as soon as possible. Thank you for listening.
It was my honor to participate in this conference. I learned a lot about COVID and Sweden's culture while preparing for this talk. Thank you.
Although COVID-19 is still prevalent, I appreciate this opportunity to discuss ideas about COVID-19 with university students from various countries and share the situations and opinions related to virtual lives. It was such a great experience and worthwhile, and I really enjoyed the time spent doing this project. I was be able to gain a lot of knowledge and competency, which was a valuable achievement for myself. I hope everyone will stay safe and soon this virus will make its way to the end. Thank you very much for your time.
Today Global Line Enforcement World Now was a good time to share the theme of the World Summit for a wide cultural life influence for the post-corona era as a relative of corona. It is also meaningful that we can share ways to cope with the current crisis and live safely in the corona era. Although we all live in the untapped era due to Corona-19, I fortunate that we have content to enjoy cultural life. At the same time, I look forward to the day when Corona-19 is clear to find the normal daily life pandemic. Please refer to explanation. Thank you.
I wish to thank all the participants, presenters, judges, staff, and anyone else who helped make this conference possible. Thank you.
이번에 세계 비정상 회담을 코로나 시대주에서 각 나라에서 어떻게 발생이 됐고 진행이 됐는지 또 어떻게 또 여가를 지내는지 함께 의논을 하고 같이 들었는데 유익한 시간이었고 그 나라 특성에 맞게 정말 문화를 잘 하고 있구나라는 걸 사실 느꼈습니다.
이번 기회로 코로나 시대 때 다른 국가들이 어떻게 대처를 했고 현재 현안이 어떻게 되는지 많이 배웠고요. 앞으로도 이런 기회 있었으면 좋겠습니다. 사실 코로나라는 주제가 쉬운 주제가 아닌 만큼 영어를 준비하는 데 있어서 되게 많은 시간과 노력을 많이 들였고요. 영어에 대해서 자신감이 있어진 것 같습니다.
각 나라별로 코로나 시대에 어떻게 문화생활을 즐기고 있는지 알아가면서 짧았지만 거기서 문화적 차이를 느낄 수 있었고 되게 흥미로웠습니다. 그리고 회담을 영어로 진행하니까 이제 영어 실력도 향상되는 것도 향상되는 건데 확실히 영어를 공부하는 거랑 말하는 거랑은 엄연히 되게 다르잖아요. 근데 여기서 이제 원래 말하기 실력을 조금 더 향상할 수 있는 계기가 됐던 것 같습니다.
제 나라였던 스웨덴의 문화라든지 코로나 상황에 대해서 처음으로 알게 돼서 흥미로웠고 준비하는 데는 어려움이 많았지만 교수님이랑 이렇게 1대1로 참석 지도를 받고 읽기 지도를 받으면서 엄청 유익한 시간이었어요.
이번에 영어로 회담을 진행한다고 해서 지원할 때 고민도 많이 하고 이제 어려울까 봐 걱정도 많이 했는데 생각보다 영어로 진행하는 게 그렇게 어렵지 않다는 것을 알고 이제 뭔가 자신감을 좀 얻게 된 것 같고요. 지금 코로나로 인해서 미국이 가장 힘들고 위험한 국가라는 걸 전부 다 알고 있는데 그 자세한 이면은 잘 모르잖아요. 근데 이제 이번에 준비하면서 미국에 대해서 더 많이 알게 되고, 그리고 또 어떤 정책들이 시행되고 있는지도 더 자세하게 알 수 있어서 글로벌한 그런 느낌을 많이 받았고요. 그리고 짧은 시간이었지만 정말 시험 기간에 힘들기도 했지만 그래도 교수님이랑 같이 이렇게 첨삭도 하고 그리고 좋은 추억을 만들 수 있어서 너무 좋은 것 같았어요.
원래 한국어로 진행하는 거는 되게 많이 해봤지만 영어로 회담 진행하는 거는 처음이라서 많이 부족하고 잘 몰랐는데 그러한 부분들을 이제 교수님께서 피드백을 너무 잘 해주시고 또 어떤 영상 추천해 주시면서 사회자는 이렇게 하는 거다라는 느낌도 알려주시고 억양이나 톤이라든가 끊어읽기 이런 것들도 다 자세하게 알려주셔서 처음이지만 그래도 큰 무리 없이 잘 진행할 수 있어서 되게 좋았던 것 같아요.
항상 영어 장문에 대한 막연한 두려움이 있었는데 왜냐면은 원어민이 읽었을 때는 내가 글을 이상하게 쓴다고 생각할 수도 있기 때문이었는데요. 프로그램을 참여하면서 교수님과 함께 첨삭을 받고 이제 의견도 나누는 덕분에 한층 더 나아진 영어 장문 실력을 쌓을 수 있었던 것 같고 보다 이제 이런 프로그램에서 영어 장문 실력과 함께 말하는 실력도 쌓을 수 있어서 정말 좋은 유익한 시간이었던 것 같습니다.